Thank you very much.
A couple of questions before we sit down for a minute. Is that all right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
First of all, Mr. Green, why do they call you Freedom?
I'm an independent thinker, able to move.
Step up to the mics if you would.
Yeah, because it's on there.
Because I'm an independent thinker, not restricted by anything that anybody else thinks about me, for me, or about me. I'm a person who moves thought into realization on a day-to-day basis. Not only that, I free other people from being restricted the same way by teaching truth.
And Mr. Perez, there's an article in the Trentonian this morning that suggests that, or actually Reed Guttiora is also suggesting that this is part of a deal, that Mr. Green will have a role in your government, and that's how you got him to be here this morning. What do you say to that?
Well, that just goes to show you that Reed hasn't been around this city long enough to know the kind of work that we do. You know, we didn't strike a deal. We've known each other now for several years. We've worked together on different projects. This is not new. This is politics, something that's new for us when it comes to politics. Politics is not new to Reed, but work is.
Sir, Mr. Green, what is your expectation of a job in the cabinet of a Mayor Perez? What's your expectation of a professional position, sir?
I actually, honestly, when I talked to Reed and when I talked to Mr. Perez, I did not ask for a job. I simply said I want to continue to do the work my campaign was built on in moving this administration, this city forward. There is no expectation. He's made no promises to me. I think that's operating in the same auspices that the nepotism and same historical reality we've been under, as if you're promising me something and we haven't even gotten to that spot. So the only expectation I expect is for us to be amazing.
Sir, let me ask the two of you this. So you're talking about the machine that is oppressing Trenton.
Yes, sir.
But how do you explain the mayoralty of Tony Mack, who had the people on his side and used the same message? He said the machine is oppressing Trenton, and he ran a campaign against the machine. How do you explain his failed mayoralty, sir?
I think, again, when you look at it, and I don't want to disrespect Mr. Mack and what he went through, it is who you surround yourself with. It is a part of the choices you make. It is the professional, competent, qualified people you bring in, putting themselves into those positions to make choices and decisions which shape the conditions out here. Mr. Mack, historically, it validates itself, made some poor choices, surrounding himself with people who could not hold the honor guard, who could not be upstanding and right, and unfortunately it led our city in the wrong direction. He's not a bad person, just made bad decisions. We won't do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. What role, if you were offered a job, would you like to see yourself in with the Perez administration?
I'd like to continue to do what I've been doing best, David, which is community development, the empowerment of the everyday people. Really, when you talk about how it would be done strategically, it would be to address all the people who did not vote in this last election cycle and helping them deal with the systemic issues that keep them oppressed and overwhelmed, but also allow them to understand the educational process of civic and civic duty, which isn't relegated to election cycles, but year-round. If I'm breathing, I'll be teaching.
Did you guys have like agreement before the election that, you know, both the outsider candidates, that you would support one another if one of them got in a runoff?
No, Dr. Howard Woodson told me if you run any race, you run it to win. So you saw by my efforts, I was running to win. We're now at this place now, so adjustments in life have to be made. This is where we are. His platform lines up with my platform, and we're committed to moving it forward.
What do you think your biggest differences are?
In terms of?
Just ideologies.
I don't see any.
Yes.
Mr. Perez, if I could, sir. Sure. You've emphasized your background as a security expert.
I didn't say security expert.
But
I have been an expert in security.
Right. Could you address, sir, specifically your understanding of your constitutional obligation in balancing liberty and security for the people of Trenton?
I've been doing it now for the past 30 years.
But as mayor?
Okay, so as mayor, what we need to do is we need to make sure that everyone has the ability to move and live without interference from any authority, okay? But we also have a responsibility to keep the city safe. So those who are here to obstruct and to abuse will have to be policed, okay? That comes from basic policing, right? We will install basic police measures that will help us reduce the current crime situation that we face. Right now, we have situations in this city that are not being addressed. We need to figure out what's going on in our response times, for instance. We need to figure out, are we properly deploying our personnel? We need to figure out, do we have the proper equipment available for the law enforcement officers? And what are we doing about community and police relations? And how are we educating one another about our suspicions? Those are the kinds of things that we need to introduce into the city, and not just by saying it, but actually by doing it, and then making a difference that way. We also need to have a program where our young people can believe in themselves and believe and trust in those who are responsible for protecting them. You know, you can hate the police, but when you dial 911, that's who shows up. Okay? So you need to have a relationship with them. Those are the kinds of things that I've been talking to public safety and policing experts over the past several years to ensure that we come up with a policy that makes sense and does not violate anyone's rights, and also that brings back the commitment and understanding and trust between the people and the police.
Mm-hmm.